Hey everybody, Owen here from Gaming with the Cooler. We are here for a instant, no notice live stream hangout show. Going to be going over a few things that have come out today, as well as kind of a recap of a tournament I was at this past weekend. So here we are. I'm going to put up some pictures. It's going to be very different. We're not going to have the camera put up. We're not going to do any painting. Probably won't be super long, but we'll see. Depends on how the conversation goes and things I want to talk about. I'm going to give it a few moments here just to buffer and get caught up, and then we're going to start the show. Anyone who shows up in the chat, feel free to make a comment. No, you can't see anything right now. You know what, let's just get into it. Bam! Pictures and blowing out speakers. So here is I guess some context. Warhammer 40k event, 2,000 points. Using some sort of ITC or something rules, a mix of the ones in the rulebook, plus some kind of like custom rules that exist out there in the ether, things that I don't understand, but things that exist nonetheless. And yeah, so this is the list I was running. It was a mechanized guard list for the most part, with it was two detachments. We had a battalion of Talarn Imperial Guardsmen. And then we had a patrol of Scions, and it was the 109th Eagles or something like that. The one that gives an additional rend to their attacks. In the Talarn detachment, we had a company commander as well as a Primaris sorcerer, 3 squads of guardsmen, 2 of which had meltaguns, 4 chimeras, each with double heavy flamethrowers, a group of Bulgrin with slab shields, and then 6 Hellhound flamethrower tanks with a heavy flamethrower front mount as well. We also had an Agent of the Imperium. We had a Vindicare Assassin. And then in the second group, we had 2 Tempestus Scion officers, each with the command rod to be able to give 2 orders, one of whom had the Laurels of Command, being able to issue 2 orders at the same time. And being able to issue 2 orders, and on a 4+ being able to provide a second order to the same unit. We also had 2 squads of command squads of Scions, all armed with the hotshot volley guns. So that's the heavy 4 AP2 damage, which went to AB3 damage 1. So you're looking at about 16 shots per team, hitting on 3s, wounding on whatever, probably 5s or 4s because strength 4. And then rerolling 1s to hit, maybe 1s to hit and to wound, or reroll 1s to wound and maybe 1s to hit as well. Thanks to being able to issue 2 orders to them. We also had 2 squads of Scions, just the regular troopers, each with 1 Melta and 9 guys total. I did forget there's a command squad in the 1st Primary Regiment as well that are all armed with snipers. And that's the whole list. I have some other pictures here. Let's see if we can bring these up. Oh, that's not the right one. Here's one, a little bit of a closer picture. So you can see on the left, in the bottom left corner, we've got our company commander and our Primaris Psyker. We've got our Scions and Scions in the back. These are the guardsmen. Obviously my guardsmen have power fists, but you can't do that anymore. So yeah, it is what it is. I did have to slightly proxy my weapons because unfortunately I haven't got heavy flamethrowers yet for my chimeras. But, you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. I think I have another picture of this army, but I don't know what it's called. There should be one from the left. One second here. Let me see if I can find it. I renamed these before the video started, but it looks like it didn't take. 129. This guy. There we go. So here we are again, same army, just close up on the left side. Like I said, squad of guard, heavy flamethrower tanks, bigger flamethrower tanks. When I see you play Ash, you sometimes talk about doing something, but then forget to do it, where people friendly in the tournament let you go back and do what you want to do. For the most part, I always give my opponents that grace. I very, very rarely am like, oh no, you missed that, you don't get to go back. I always try and give my opponent that, like, You don't want to win on a gotcha is kind of my opinion. It's better to let your opponent have done all of the things that would have led him to win and then win anyway, and or lose if that's the way it goes, than have won because someone forgot that they didn't use it quite at the right time in the specific phase. I think that is a less valuable win than if you just beat them playing the game. Yeah, so it's a 3-round event. This is the guard army that I was playing. To give you kind of an idea of tactics, I think I've got a picture here as we square off against my first opponent, which was orcs. It was a Grot-themed orc list. You can see my deployment on the right side, his deployment on the left. Each of the buildings were giant line-of-sight blocking obstruction ruins. The zones in the top center and the bottom center were forests. So that's -1 to shoot through, as well as minusing your movement as you try and go through it. That's kind of how the terrain played out. You can see my deployment, and this is my standard deployment for each of the maps. We had chimeras on the flanks, along with the flamethrower tanks to push up the center. In the center bubble itself, we have the officer cadre of the 3 command squads, the 2 Scion officers, and then in the Chimera behind those officers is the Primaris Psyker as well as the company commander, so they can jump out if they need to help out. I only have this one picture from this video, or this battle, unfortunately, but yeah, that looks insane. No room to maneuver. Yeah, this is also with the reduced size. You'll notice that there's tape around the edges of these boards. That essentially made it that the boards were playing on the smaller size tables that GW has recommended. Yeah, absolutely tight fighting. I don't know how you could use like a Basilisk anymore in this game. Like, I just don't. Like, there was never an instance. So, okay, I'm rambling on 3 different points. First, throughout the entire event, I never got first turn, which is an incredible hit to my army. You'll see on the top left corner there's a bunch of yellow artillery guns. In the bottom left, there's a bunch of red ones. Those are all, I believe, bubble chukkas that the orcs have access to. D3 shots, hits on 4s. Then in order to damage you, it's 2d6, and they have to roll equal to or greater than your toughness. And if they succeed, it's -4 d6 damage. They still have Daka, so they on 6s get extra shots and hitting on 4s. So you can imagine first turn, him shooting 10 of those. I think I lost half of my tanks on the opening salvo. And that was kind of a tradition throughout every round, is that my tanks got, I just got punished on the first turns, game after game. But it went pretty well. So this game against the orcs, he punished me on the first turn. I drove back up. We hit him pretty hard. Ogres jumped out of their battle wagon, or their Chimera, and beat up a bunch of kill-cans, while the hotshot las guns just kind of wrecked everything that they shot at. Like, you roll enough dice, and you're hitting on 3s, winning on 5s, re-rolling 1s, you're going to kill a lot of stuff. The Vindicare was just taking pot shots, trying to kill mech guns, because he didn't really have anything to shoot in this army. But that's how that went. I'm going to kind of go to the end of this game. Oh my god, somebody is literally revving their engine right outside. I apologize about the background noise, if it's being heard. The orcs would call it in that. Yeah. Yeah, so the end of this game, I did actually win this one. It was, I believe, 90 points for me and about 60 for him. Secondaries, I always took engage on all fronts. I took whatever it was that would make sense to kill him. So I was killing vehicles, he was killing vehicles. No, not your window. Literally somebody in the back, I'm at the back side of the house, facing away from the street, and somebody's literally just sitting there revving. It's great. It's great. Anyway, whatever. We're moving on. Yeah, and we smashed vehicles. I scored a lot of primary points. It's very hard for my army to get pushed off of objectives, because they're covered in flamethrowers, so we're going to overwatch you when you charge. And then if you kill me, 10 guys who are objective secured fall out and take the zones. And the zones are underneath those objectives. So you can see kind of a metal, like a white disc looking shape on each of the tree sides. You can't tell too well, but that's marking the objective. And then on the left side, his is right under that little, basically underneath the Stampa's gun. There's one there, and then on my side, underneath the tanks on the right, behind the building. Those are our 2 objectives in our deployments. And yeah, this was a super good game. I mean, all games against orcs are fun. Orcs and guard are even better because everyone's just killing and taking models, and that's how it goes. Well, now I know when I can't find where you live, rev my car whenever you stream. There you go. We'll drive around honking until we can find that flagpole, right? Yeah, so good games all around. The Stompa, I had no way to fight it in my army. I mean, I had a few melta-guns, but nothing that could do anything to it. So I just chose not to. It wandered around. I think it had taken like a total of 5 wounds by the end of the game. But the Stompa just doesn't have the ability to kill lots of small things. He could kill individual things. I did also have a very lucky turn when the Stompa charged my officer and one of the chimeras, and the officer and the chimera lived with 1 wound. So that was great. Yeah, I guess I should mention that this tournament took place at Mini Wargaming, at least in the bunker that Max Aggression, which is the shop in Mini Wargaming, leases, owns, rents. I don't know actually how that relationship is, but that's where it was taking place. You're not going to really see any pictures of people. I didn't want to go around and get permission and all that kind of shit that you have to do if you want to legally publish pictures of people from a private event on the internet. I ain't doing that. So there shouldn't be any people in this. If there are, yeah, they're probably not going to come after me. Yeah, so that was round 1 up against the orcs. This was one I was terrified of. And, oh no, I didn't play anyone from Mini Wargaming. Those guys don't participate in events. They just don't do that. And yeah, moving on to round 2. Round 2 was another not great match. This time it was up against knights. So it was 3 knights. This is top of turn 1, sorry. So once again, the knights have first turn against me because, like I said, I just never won that first turn. Behind the knights on the left and the right, there's a squad of Primaris Marines. And then behind the center knight is the Primaris captain with a bolt gun that just shoots mortal wounds. That was pretty terrifying. I believe their Space Wolves is the variant that he used. So once again, not having any way really to deal with armor. I should also note that this guy's the only knight guy in the event. So it was literally just like, oh, I guess we're going to struggle. 6 objectives. 1 is underneath the forest. You can see once again, I'm set up like I described in the first one. We've got our command bubbles sitting in the woods, shooting their hotshot lasers out. Objectives on the left and the right. And then, yeah, basically on this one, I weathered the storm. I lost nearly every tank on the opening shots because, like, the Infernal Lances that 2 of his knights had, they were like 6 shots, 3d3 damage each, strength like 14 or something, and I have no saves against those. So he was just instant killing tanks everywhere, and then they explode really easily because they're hellhounds. Yeah, all in all, really rough. But I ended up winning this one too. Basically, the knights kind of ran out of steam as the fight kept going. I just kept throwing more and more models at him. The stormtroopers would deep strike in and go steal one of the side objectives, as well as help kill one of the knights. And then as the main army collapsed in the center, I brought in the stormtroopers to land back in the middle and re-secure my side of the board. And he just couldn't be everywhere. That was the big problem for him, is that I could just throw model after model at him. And yeah, so continue to fight, continue to take zones. I think this one I was like 81 to 68 or something like that. So it was fairly close. Like a few turns either way would have put him up. I think I have another couple pictures. So here's one of those knights up close. This guy won the best painted at the event. You can see people way off wearing masks in this one. No faces, obviously, and everything's blurred. And then I think I have another one. Yeah, so here it is. This is exactly what would happen, is I would drive up with my vehicles. This tank has 1 health left. Also, I used the Lumineth dice the entire event, as you would know. But I would drive up, fight for it, and then guardsmen would jump out and objective secure, take it away. And they'd stay outside of 3 because his knights were all characters, so that he couldn't pile in and fight me. Yeah, and that was essentially the game. I ended up killing one of the knights. I was on like the bottom of 4, and I was able to take him down. But all in all, it was pretty rough. Yeah, he has a really nicely painted army. I wish I had more close-ups of it, from the beginning, but I don't. So that's just how it is. Oh my god, is that fucking motorcycle coming back? All right, so that's round 2. We're going into the final round now. Let's see if we have pictures for that one. Is this going to be it? Is this really happening right now? Some guy is that much of a douchebag? Give me a sec. All right. There we go. Hopefully that makes a difference. Probably not. You'll probably still hear it. But, yeah, let's see if this picture is the right one. Nope, that's the guardsman again. Black screen for a second. Okay, this is one. And then I should have another one. But this is the end of the game. The final fight was against Nurgle. This was just a horrible game for me. One thing I wanted to talk about is the kind of stress at that point, like playing on the third table, undefeated at that point. Of course, he was too. I didn't really appreciate how we played with one another. I guess there's a lot of like shittiness. I felt pretty bad about afterwards. Not like anything overt, but just little like everything had to be very like, this is exactly where he was, or he's not standing there, like that kind of shit that I don't normally like to play. Started happening, and I started feeling myself fall into that. I got obliterated in this list. I don't know what happened. Like every one of his rolls was successful, every one of mine was not, and I just died. He had first turn. Those artillery piece tanks back there, he was doing like d6 shots at strength 8, -5 d6 damage each, and then plus 2 extra shots doing -4 d6 damage each, and then 2 more at d3, and like every shot he did just killed something. The Plague Marines in the bottom corner there, they walked up and they go 8d6 dice of grenades, and then on 6s they do mortal wounds. He does 15 mortal wounds to my tank and just instantly kills it. Yeah, he was super experienced. Like I don't mean to say, like, and don't misunderstand to say that it was just like, oh, dice was what won me the game. Absolutely not. Or what lost me the game. That wasn't it. Obviously he had won quite a bit. Yeah, and so that was the final. I have another picture of this, I thought. Is it this one? Nope, not that one. Is it? Nope, it's not that one. Did I not add it? Let's see here. Just trying to see if I can bring this other image up. I have a better picture of his army, so you can see it. Ends in 0252. Add some media. We'll just have to adjust it a bit. There we go. Cool. So this is a better kind of ish picture of his army. Demon Prince, 3 of those artillery tanks, 3 of these guys, these front tanks, toughness 8 with a 4-up invuln and a feel no pain. That's super difficult to deal with. And then they're covered in meltas and rockets, so once again, perfect tools to kill me. There's a little dude, I don't know if you can see him in this picture, but he's got a little like flamethrower guy. Actually, yeah, you can see him. He's right in the center there next to the guy wearing the purple hood. And he shoots like a strength 3d6 -3 3 damage per hit flamethrower at range like 18 or maybe 9. He could walk or he could run and do it, so it didn't really matter. And it just like obliterated tanks. He also had a bunch of Poxwalkers, a bunch of Terminators, and then of course the Plague Marines with the officers. And yeah, it was just like Vindicare sniper misses, flamethrower doesn't wound, dudes in the woods don't hit at all. Just that kind of game. And yeah, that's just how it went. Like I said, I felt really shitty afterwards, and like I'm glad we were able to have a conversation afterwards. He has a beautifully painted army. But yes, to answer your question there, Daniel, who you keep asking, this guy did not win the event. In the end, his buddy, who is the other, they're actually a team. They're on the app, whatever it is, the app for tournaments in 40K. His buddy won by like a 5-point difference in total points. So Blood Angels were actually the winner of the event. And I'll be honest, I wish I had fought the Blood Angels guy instead of this guy. They both kind of went, oh no, your army would be way screwed if you fought the Blood Angels. Like, they have this much damage and they deep strike and blah, blah, blah. And all I said was like, their toughness 4. All my guns work on them. Your toughness 8. None of my shit works on you. But it didn't happen. That's not the way it went out. I ended up dropping from, like, I did terrible on this map, and I think I ended 5th in the event overall with 2-1 win-win loss, 90, 80, and like 38 or something on this final mission. I just couldn't kill anything. Like, I don't think he lost a squad. He lost like a few models, and that was about it. Just like my ogres charge a rhino, and they do no damage to it. That was the kind of game I had. I shoot his squad of Plague Marines 36 times on 3s and 4s, doing AP -3, and I kill 2. Like, that was the kind of game that I was having. But it's how it is. That is dice. That's how it goes. All in all, though, it was a good event. It was hosted by Scarredcast, another YouTube channel or blogger who talks about Warhammer 40K. He was a pretty cool guy to meet. Ran a nice, smooth event. Everybody kind of got answers to any kind of questions you had really quick, and everybody was able to play, and there was nobody who had to do a buy. So that was nice too. Always fun to see a nice, easy event run. And yeah, that was my day playing some games. So with that, let's talk about some news that came out today, and we'll bring up the thing that has some folks talking. What was the Blood Angels list? Off the top of my head, it was 3 main characters: Mephiston, Sanguinor, the chaplain guy. I don't remember his name. Astrath, the Grim, I think, the Axe one. 15 or 20 Sanguinary Guards, 15 or 20 Death Company, and then a bunch of Primaris Marines. And that was his army. I think he had a tank or something. Josh, you should know. You were there. You pay more attention to things. Yeah, it was a solid army. Like, he had all kinds of stacking abilities that made his guys tougher and deal more damage and move faster. But I wanted to fight somebody who was equal or lower toughness than my tanks and wanted to get close to me, because that's where my armies thrived. So I wanted to fight that. Didn't work out, but it is what it is. Yeah, so I want to talk about Necrons now. We're going to talk about the new reanimation protocols. Oh my god, have I seen the comments going on in the different groups? 3 squads of intercessors? Yeah, something like that. I know it was. I knew there was a bunch of intercessors in the box. It might have been 3 squads of 5 or something like that, rather than like big squads. 3 of 5 probably makes sense, actually, because that would fill out his roles pretty well. Anyway, Necroids. We're going to talk about reanimation protocols. Now, this is baseless speculation, because I don't have the book, and this rule in a vacuum isn't really enough to comment on what it's done to the Necron army. Short answer, I think this is a better reanimation protocol than the old one, and I'll try and couch that in something resembling an opinion. The biggest thing that I like about it is that it adds the ability for you to use all of your special rules throughout a game. The biggest problem with reanimation calls in the past was that you just didn't get to use them. You had this ability, this really cool thematic Terminator, dun dun dun, I'm going to get back up again ability, and you just never got to. They would shoot you, your squad of 3 super tough dudes, and they would die, and that would be it. Or you'd lose on morale, and they'd run away, and you wouldn't get to use it. Or insert all of the other instances where you never get to use your reanimation protocols. You can't bring a squad of 10, because if 5 of them die and the other one runs, then half of them, and like that kind of shit was what would happen all the time. This, while making it less likely to get all of the guys back, makes it where you'll get some of the guys back all the time. And I think that is a better, more fun experience than all of them some of the time. Because, like, in the current rules, for about another week until they change, you could have a squad of Indominus warriors who have a Cryptech and a Reanimator nearby, getting up on 3s, rerolling 1s. And you saw that with my game when I played against Ash. Actually, I don't know if that's gone up yet. But anyway, there's a game, and you'll see, I roll really good. And everybody just comes back to life. Actually, that is up, because someone was calling me out for why did you deep strike that close? Over the course of a turn, 19 guys come back in my squad through a combination of abilities. And that's a pretty huge change. It is not unclear, in my opinion, Bohord. So what do you say that is, this is fairly unclear on if all dead can reanimate or just the dead from the attack. I believe that, and I believe it's fairly clear, each time a unit's reanimation protocols are enacted, make a reanimation protocols roll for that unit by rolling a number of d6 equal to the combined wound characteristics of all the reassembling models. The models that are reassembling are those that have been destroyed by that attack. Each time this enemy unit shoots or fights, after it makes its attacks, if any models in this unit were destroyed as a result of those attacks, but this unit was not destroyed, this unit's reanimation protocols are enacted, and those destroyed models begin to reassemble, which is to say, those models destroyed by an enemy unit that shoots or fights begin to reassemble. That's what that first paragraph is describing. I wish you could see my mouse, but you can't, so fucking deal with it. It's fairly clear. This is a incredibly wordy document to try and get around the fact that people are going to try and fight with how this one actually works. I don't think there's a debate here, but whatever. People can argue on the internet about anything, so I don't mean to call into that one. Each time a unit's reanimation protocols are enacted, make a reanimation protocol for that unit by rolling a d6 equal to the number of combined wounds characteristics of all the reassembling models. Each reanimation protocol is a 5+ and puts into a pool. A reanimation protocol can never be modified by more than -1 or +1, which implies there'll be a negative mod to some reanimations, which I think is interesting. If the number of dice that this pool in that pool is greater than or equal to the wounds characteristic of any of the reassembling models, select one of those models to be reanimated. A reanimated model is added back to a unit with its full wounds remaining. It can only be set up in engagement range of units that are already in the engagement range of the reanimated model's unit. Cannot, if it is your charge phase, be set up any closer to the enemy units than the targets of charge declared by units in this phase, and no longer counts as having been destroyed for the purposes of morale tests. This turn, you then reduce the number of dice in that pool by a number of equal to the wounds characteristic of the reanimated model and repeat this process until there are either no reassembling models, or the number of dice remaining in the pool is less than the wounds characteristic of any of the reassembling models. Any models that did not reanimate fail to reassemble, and any dice remaining in the pool are discarded, which is to say you don't get those people back. They have failed to reassemble. They're gone. You won't get them from this rule, which is a big asterisk that I think should be paid attention to. So to explain that in words that aren't as wordy, whenever a guy dies, roll a number of dice equal to his wounds. For each 5+, you get a success. You can trade in your successes to bring models back equal to the number of wounds on the models. So if a guy has 1 wound, you can bring back your number of successes. If guys have 2 wounds, you can bring back your number of successes divided by 2. Does that make sense? Divide by 3 for bigger guys. If you don't have enough to get to a full guy's worth of wounds, you lose them. So if you had 5 points because you made 5 5+s and your guys had 3 wounds each, 1 would come back, 2 wounds would be lost. And that's just how it is. This takes place every time you're attacked, so long as one of your guys who has been attacked dies. If you're attacked and no one dies, no one's reanimation protocol takes place because no one was destroyed. It doesn't need cleared up, and I don't think it needs a FAQ already, Glenn. I think this actually is very clear in how it's described. I don't understand how people are getting confused by this. It is wordy, that's for sure. There's a lot of description and a lot of things about how this functions in here, but it is fairly clear. I would go to say it is clear and more clear than many rules that already exist in this game. The problem with it is that it is a mechanic that is different than any other mechanic. It is sort of a nerf to multi-wound models, because what it means is that if a guy dies, a 1-wound model warrior dies, you roll 1 dice, and on a 5-up he'll live. If a 3-wound model dies, you need to roll 3 wounds, because he had 3 wounds, but you need to get 5-up on all 3 of them in order for him to live, which is obviously way less likely. Now, I think that there's going to be stratagems and army abilities that modify this, and or also get units that who have lost from their main number back again. That's why I don't worry about this ability. And then the other one is the number of games that you lose your squad of 3 heavy dudes in 1 turn of shooting, not 1 shot, but a turn of shooting, I think is a big reason why it'd be nice to have this ability. Because you got to remember, like, don't think of it as 1-to-1 guys coming back. Think of it as getting 1/3 of the guys you lose coming back whenever you play. So, like, let's say you have your 3 Scorpec destroyers. You lose 2 of them. You roll 6 dice. Now let's imagine that there's a Cryptek or a Reanimator nearby that's on 4 pluses coming back. You're likely to get one of those guys right back. And there you go. That's you're going to get one of them back. Whereas before, you'd only have 1 guy left in the unit now, and 1 more shot that kills 1 more guy would destroy the whole unit. But now it's taken 2 more shots that it wouldn't have even had the opportunity of before. So you can make the argument that, like, yes, it's harder to get them back because it's no longer 1 dice for 1 model. It's now harder to bring back bigger models. But in a vacuum, it's still not the end of the world, because before, against any player who knew what they were doing, shy of you getting lucky because they failed to succeed, you would just die. I think people are interpreting it as soon as you fail a reanimate means that destroyed Necron doesn't add to the pool for the following attack. Well, it doesn't. You're done after that point. You don't get them for each attack. You only get it for 1 attack. Per attack, per instance of attacking. So if you get shot, 3 of your guys die, 1 of them comes back and the other 2 don't, and then you get shot again and 3 more guys die, you don't have 5 dice, you have 3 again. Probably could have picked better numbers to make that more clear, but I didn't. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I wonder if they'll get a stratagem similar to Red Corsair's one, where they can reappear on a board edge, but all models in the unit return back to full strength. Who's to say that the Ghost Arc doesn't allow models that who have previously failed to reanimate get a chance to roll again? Like, this is what frustrates me, is that there are stratagems that currently exist in the game that drastically change the abilities of units, either by doubling their firepower or reducing the amount of damage they can take, or making them no longer being able to be targeted by attacks. All of these exist in the game. The idea that they're not going to have an ability to just come back is hilarious. Oh yeah, characters may allow you to roll again. Lieutenant Anders got it. Absolutely, these guys are going to get something that will allow you to get those guys back. Yeah, it's after each shooting attack, and also the melee attacks. It's all the time. All the time. You don't have to interrupt if you're going to get 1/3 of your guys back every time you fight. And when I say 1/3, I mean half. And when I say half, I mean 2/3. Because they're going to be 20-man warrior blobs with either a reanimator or a Cryptek or whatever the new hotness is that gives you +1 on reanimates. And they're going to keep that reroll 1s. Like, whatever the Indominus warriors are, they're going to be the same in the new book. There's no way they change that. Because the reanimator was clearly designed with this rule in mind. Because it didn't make sense in the current rules. So they're going to reroll 1s because that's what they do. So you're going to be 5-up rerolling 1s, 4-up rerolling 1s, half your guys +1. You'll make them act like a Death Army in Age of Sigmar, where the HQs would be linchpins. I don't think so. I think they'll be able to work as they do already. Maybe the HQs will make a big difference, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, all in all. So my short answer is This is not as complicated as people want it to be. I think it's actually a terrifyingly good ability, depending on if you roll well. And I like it because even if you don't, at least you had a chance every time. The only problem I have with this rule is it slows the fucking game down. Because now it's an armor save plus this. And if they get anything that gives them a feel no pain, can you imagine how fucking obnoxious it's going to be to play against these people? Doesn't matter what their saves are. You're like, okay, 4-up save warriors with a 6-up shrug and a reanimate. You shoot them. You do 3 wounds. So wait, you roll to shoot, and you shoot them with a random number of shotgun. So you're like, I shoot you d6 times, roll to hit, roll to wound, roll to save, roll to feel no pain, roll to reanimate. Blah. It's kind of feel no pain, but kind of better than feel no pain, because the feel no pain is only against the amount of wounds you have, not the amount of damage they cause. So it's better and worse. Oh god, the Silent King's Dynasty is feel no pain against mortal wounds. Good. Good. Oh yeah, Immortal staying 1 wound in T5. It's just feel no pain, inverse feel no pain, really. No wounds lost. Well, because it's, if you had 3 wounds and you got shot by a damage 5 Melta but had feel no pain, you'd have to roll 5 instances of feel no pain. If you had 3 wounds and were shot by a damage 5 Melta and you reanimated, you'd roll 3 to just come back to life. Or like if an individual dude got shot by a damage 2 weapon, instead of having to make 2 feel no pains, he just makes 1 reanimate. Makes sense? It's kind of better, kind of worse. I don't have a problem with it outside of the fact that it's going to make the game slower. And 40k does not need anything to make it slower. Dear God. They had the opportunity to make it where you could have splash damage, and they just didn't fucking do it. Yep, you do have to make all 3. So you're unlikely on a 1-to-1 to get your guys back. It's true. But you were never likely to get them back. So all this does is give you more instances of being able to get them back. Kinda. Like, I don't think this is a hard nerf, hard buff. I think this is just different. I don't think it is able to be comparable to the previous one, because the way that this will interact with the way the game flows is going to change a lot more than the other one did. Because the other one was like, fight and kill as much as you can so that they never come back. And if you don't do that, tons of them are going to come back. Now it's going to be fewer of them total are going to come back, but they're going to come back at a different timing, which is going to result in you being less effective in your shooting. And it's going to make target priority really hard to do, because things that should die may not die. You can't depend on morale basically at all. It might happen, it might not. But like, who knows what's going to go on. So anyway, that's my thoughts on reanimation. I think it's overall just different. I'm not going to make a jury on whether it's better or worse, because there's too many things that are going to change that. Apparently the Void Dragon can only take max 3 wounds. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm going to go through everything that was on the community post today. I just want to talk about this one because it's obviously the big elephant in the room. I don't have more pictures of everything, but here we'll put a picture of... not that one. This one? This one. Yeah, Necrons. Everyone likes Necrons. We'll talk about the monolith too. But... yeah, so next up, we'll just go through kind of the article here. I'll kind of read it off. They have essentially doctrines, but they're better doctrines because you get to pick yourself which phases you have them in. The one they use as an example is you either get +1 move to all of your dudes, or if you're performing an action, it can still make its attacks without that action failing. Which is actually a really powerful tournament or mission ability, because a lot of the actions require you to give up every ability. But now it means like you could have Necron warriors climb out of a vehicle, take a zone, plant a flag, and then shoot you anyway. That's a huge thing. But those are all going to depend on what comes out. The fucking 6-pistol Deathmark guy, I think, is silly. I don't know what it is. There's a guy at GW who clearly likes making designs of models who have more than 2 arms and are wielding pistols, because I think this is like the 4th one. There's this guy, there's like the Gene Stealer guy, I know there's like an old Necromunda guy, like they're just a collection of them. And like, I don't know, they're not for me. But then the Monolith, the only thing that we're waiting on the Monolith is, does it get roll less than damage of the attack, ignore the damage, shields, quantum shielding. If the Monolith gets quantum shielding, it will immediately show back up on the board. Right now they don't, because they're kind of pillow-fisted and they die easily. Everyone likes the Gunslinger. Sure, man. I want to see a Gunslinger who's only got 2 arms, but his body has a bunch of guns on it, like the dad from Boondock Saints. And as he shoots throughout the game, he has less overall shots because he uses up the ammo of his previous pistols. Yeah, Monolith is getting a new gun. It's not very good. Heavy one, 9 -3, D3 +3. Like, that's kind of fine. Cypher only has 2 arms, though, so he doesn't count. I do like the idea, though, that the Monolith is going to get 4 extra wounds. The only thing is going to depend on what kind of defense it has. Yes, not Millie. Meryl. I know who you're talking about, Sam. Will I be getting the Monolith? Currently, yeah. I'm going to get the Monolith regardless. The Monolith is one of my favorite models in Warhammer 40k. I love the old Monolith. I'm okay with the new Monolith. I accept it on the grounds that you couldn't really paint the plastic bits, so this is pretty good. Hopefully they get tougher. We don't know. Its wound stat currently is 20, which means it's going to 24, which could make it a super heavy. And that's a big jump. Have I got a paint theme to paint it? Yeah, I'd paint it like the rest of my Necrons. It'll look rusted and such, like all my other shit. Also, this picture on, I should, give me a sec. Let me see if I can put this one up. This is an awful picture. Let me see if I can bring this picture up. 1 second. Media files, this one. This picture here, this is awful. I don't know, like, everything in this picture is cool models and cool stuff, but goddamn is it composited so, like, bizarrely. Like, the idea, it looks like, is that they're on some kind of, like Camino water planet, and they're rising out of the water and coming over the walls. But it's like, what even is this? Like, like he's clearly behind this structure, but then his sword reaches over it, and like, where is this? Like, what is happening? What is happening here? I don't know. It is what it is. I normally don't like to bash on things. Like, all of the models and everything in this is beautiful, but this like random water misty, I don't know what's happening in the background. The background just confuses me, and like it's just awful. It's just not a great layout, in my opinion. This is a beautiful picture. This is a great one. So, like, is this the same guy? Did you get tired? I don't know. This is wonderfully done. It has, like, going off in the distance. You can see more units coming out. And, like, it's obviously simple. Like, I'm not asking for this to be, like, a beautiful artwork and blah, blah, blah. But, like, darker skies. Sun is setting on, like, alien world with a lot of fog in the distance. And then you've got kind of, like, a glowy outline. Dudes coming out. You could see more. You see more. Like, off in the distance, they're building up. And then you look at this and you're like... That Wraith on the right side of the screen looks like someone just like photoshopped him directly on top of everything else. Like, they didn't bother with layering, and they just tilted him at 40 degrees. It's like a trigger animation. Anyway. So yeah, moving on. We have, of course, the Void Dragon, who is in that. I guess I'm going to talk about the Void Dragon. We'll put his picture up. Incredible stat line, incredible guns, and then of course the big thing that people are talking about is his Necrodermis. He's a 4 Binavon, and in addition, this model cannot lose more than 3 wounds in the same phase. Any wounds that would be lost after that point are lost. that is an incredibly powerful ability in the same sense as the Ghazghul's was. And I honestly think this rule or variants of it are going to show up again and again on centerpiece models. Because one of the big problems in 40k is first turn advantage. And first turn advantage means that you basically get to pick something in their army and it dies. And 99% of the time, the thing that you want to kill is the big bad man who's in the middle of their army, whether it's Ghazghul or this guy or whatever else it's going to be. And I think this is a way for GW to try and not make that game experience where you're the, okay, me and Sam here are going to go play a game. And I put down my new Space Marine chapter master guy, and he's super cool and he's a big dude and blah blah blah, and then Sam wins the roll for first turn and he immediately kills that big guy, and I go, oh well, that's a bummer. I wish I got to use him one time this game. Like, you could have hurt him and not killed him, but at least then I'd get to try him out. These rules are so that you can do some damage to them, but they'll die on turn like 2 or 3. Shoot them, melee them, next round shoot them, melee them, they're dead. And that's just how that is. I think that's just a way to try and make it that they live longer. I see Glenn commenting that the Void Dragon has less than 10 wounds, so unlike Gaz, it can be hidden. Have you seen that it's a character yet? I mean, it probably is, but I don't think it is. But maybe. I'd like it to be. That's even better. I don't think that's the end of the world. Interestingly, though, it's called Necrodermis, and I can think of some other models who have Necrodermis as well. Do you think just the Void Dragon's going to get that? Do you think the Deceiver is going to get that? Or the Nightbringer? Are they even going to be in the new book? I don't know. Yeah, Story of the Baneblade, Story of the Single Knight. That's the kind of thing. It's the lazy way to get around the problem. It's just like your bullets stop working and be a nice guy. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense thematically. But, you know, what else do you do other than going the Age of Sigmar route and making it where there's far less shooting? I don't know. But all I know is that's what I think, or rather, what I think is that that's why this exists. I wouldn't have given him an ability to get wounds back, though. That's pretty crazy. And yeah, otherwise that's what we got for the new updates. Weirdly, he has a 3-up save and a 4-up invuln. All the other Catans had just straight up 4-ups. I'm really excited for the new monolith. Let's go back to the picture I like. Really excited for the new monolith. I hope it has something to keep it alive other than just a wound block and toughness. Because toughness 8 is not going to be enough, and 24 wounds are not going to be enough. With the way Meltas are going to work in the new edition, you are going to dumpster anything that doesn't have the ability to shrug off damage. Even if it's 2d6 roll lower than the strength or the damage of an attack, at least it would be something to try and protect you from the fact that multi-Meltas are going to be doing an average of like 7 damage or 6 damage every time they shoot you. Because that's how it's going to go. And I think that if it doesn't have something like that, it's going to unfortunately fall immediately into the unusable category. I'm really hoping that's not the case. Like I said, it's one of my favorite models, and I'll get one regardless just to have it, and I'll try and find a use for it. But they might just go down the drain immediately if that happens. So here's hoping. Your Kharadron overlords. Yeah, well, there's always someone who has to skew into one direction, right? But it is what it is. They don't break the game, in my opinion. I'm not going to get into Age of Sigmar. Do I prefer 40k or Age of Sigmar at the moment? I do still prefer Age of Sigmar. It's definitely a great game because it's so easy to play. You don't get caught up in the moments. And yeah, so we'll spend a few moments here. I'll read some chats and we'll have a bit of a conversation. But that was all I wanted to talk about today. A little bit of a recap of the event, and then some speculation about new Necron stuff, going over the new released info, and then trying to really clear up what reanimation is, and my thoughts on it. Because I do know there's a lot of people going back and forth and arguing via text on Twitter or Facebook or whatever your media platform is honestly not the best way to communicate what the hell you think that might actually mean. I do feel that it's fairly straightforward. It is wordy. There's a lot of text in there, and that's to try and prevent people from trying to argue points. I wish literacy was a bigger thing, because it is fairly clear. But, whatever. 10% of the population is functionally illiterate anyway, which is a terrifying statistic. Literally, oh my God. I don't want to think about it anymore. What's Facebook, right? Do I have a Discord? I do have a Discord. It was posted somewhere at some point. Might be dead. It was mostly for Gladius, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Facebook, argue it in. Once the book drops, I'm going to jam triple monolith again, as is tradition. I always thought double monolith was the way to go. You didn't need the third one, because you just needed to double tap on the reanimation protocols. But that was just my opinion back in 4th? I don't know. A while ago. But yeah, I'm excited for my Necroids. They'll be pretty fun. I'm actually painting some chaos stuff right now as well for a different project, and we'll see how it goes. So thank you everyone for jumping in with this random last minute / makeup for yesterday's stream. I always try and notify folks if there's going to be a delay on the stream. I posted it on Facebook yesterday, so you don't look at that, then you're not going to see. And that's just how it is. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next week, Sunday evening, usually around 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try and give everybody a notice on the Facebook as well as on the YouTube community thing. Just giving a heads up, going live in an hour or two. It's usually the only warning you're going to get. Or something saying that we're not going to go live at all because something has come up. And that's how it is. So thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you next week.